What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Star Wars Collecting and Hobbies channel. Today we're going to be doing the Star Wars Rise of Skywalker World Premiere Event Review. And I promise you that I won't say anything that if you heard it here before you see the movie that you would be mad about. So there won't be any major spoilers. Nothing that the action figures don't tell you, at least. But, okay, so as far as the world premiere event goes, I would say the atmosphere was completely, well, not completely different, but generally more positive than the last premiere that we went to, which was Solo. And at the Solo premiere, you could hear a lot of people in the background, a lot of people just walking around in the general vicinity of the movie theater. You could tell that a lot of people were very aggravated by The Last Jedi, like 50% of them. But there was, an unrealistic, I mean, not unrealistic, but a surprisingly good amount of positivity is what I would say. For Solo, because Solo didn't have anything to do with the current trilogy, the sequel trilogy of the events that happened after Return of the Jedi. But The Last Jedi did have an impact, had a pretty good impact on the Star Wars community, whether you loved it or you hated it. As a movie itself, The Last Jedi was, say you were never seen a Star Wars movie, didn't know anything about Luke Skywalker or the mythos or the previous history of the movie or the characters, then you probably didn't have much of a problem with it, if any problem at all. The only problem you might have with it would be they don't really explain, well, I guess they do actually pretty well. They do kind of explain it a little bit in the Last Jedi when Luke is training Rey. He does explain to her what the Force is like, but they don't even. Well, anyway, for some reason I was thinking, because I've actually heard people say that, like, if you were to go into this movie or The Force Awakens as a standalone film, you wouldn't understand how they get their powers or why they have the Force or what the Force is. Like, it's not explained the same way that Obi-Wan Kenobi explains it. So, as a standalone film, other than that part, like The Force Awakens, Last Jedi, the sequel trilogy, if you were to go to any of those movies individually without seeing any of the other movies, then for some reason there's a lot of people who have questions about the Force. But I know that Luke did explain it a little bit, to Rey, because Rey asked her, what is it? I mean, Rey asked him, what is it? And, he did kind of play around with her, kind of played jokes on her, which was kind of, a lot of people thought that was out of character for Luke Skywalker. But then again, Yoda was very playful and kind of weird at the first when he meets him in Empire Strikes Back. So anyway, kind of getting off track already, but that's just kind of what I heard in general consensus of people who've seen the movie The Last Jedi without seeing any other movies. Now, The Force Awakens, I don't think explains it as well as The Last Jedi did, because Luke Skywalker's not really in The Force Awakens. He's only in there for like 80 seconds or something, the last scene, and he doesn't have any lines. So, as far as the atmosphere of The Rise of Skywalker, if you were to walk around enough around the place, around the movie theater where they were having the event, you would hear a lot of people talking about um, negative things, I guess. I'm not going to get into it too much, but they had a lot of negative comments. But at the same time, the amount of smiles, the amount of joy the crowd had that I saw were, to me, was very surprising. And I know I said that with the Solo also, but this one seemed even more surprising, almost as if they were just all happy to see the last film, or what is being called the last movie in the Skywalker saga, which a couple of years ago, when they first talked about this, they were saying when they bringing in these new characters like Rey, Poe, and Finn, that they could be potentially, they would do a trilogy and then they would see where it goes from there and possibly bring them back, 2 to 5 years later or something and continue the story with them. But they wanted to explore other routes or all this different kind of stuff because they didn't really know what they were going to do. But Kathleen Kennedy did specifically say today, this is not the end of the Skywalkers. However, she said they could pop up anytime, anywhere, whatever, something like that. She did say that on the blue carpet and in her interview. So it's not the end of the Skywalker characters completely, is what she's saying. So they could pop up later on, which is what they've been saying since the beginning, kind of. But yeah. Anyway, so this technically, I don't know what they're trying to say about the last movie or whatever. But like I said, I'm keeping this spoiler free. I'm not going to give away anything. So you're just going to have to see the movie and figure out what I'm talking about. But anyway, the general consensus of the audience, or not the audience, but the people around the theater itself, the general consensus was much more positive than what I thought it would be. Probably because this is, not fresh off The Last Jedi like Solo was. Solo came out only a few months after The Last Jedi, about 5 or 6 months. So it didn't, like I said, I still heard a lot of bad things being said, but to my surprise, just the look at everybody's faces, all the people dressed up, all the lightsabers, all of that kind of stuff in the crowd was a generally positive feeling. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. But I didn't see a lot of the people coming out of the cars getting onto the blue carpet. I did see a few people on the carpet themselves, like Kathleen Kennedy, her twin sister Connie, Harrison Ford. I barely got a glimpse of J.J. Abrams. Let's see who else. Chewbacca, that he was very present. He was signing autographs. He was all over with the fans. I saw Daisy, and I saw Poe with somebody. I think Finn or somebody, but and of course Kelly Marie Tran and the girl who plays Jana, the new character. I forgot her name, Naomi something. Yeah. So the only thing that I heard negative in the crowd when the people were, I saw Bob Iger too. Wow. That was not, I heard some boos when Bob Iger was walking around, and I heard even more boos when Kathleen Kennedy was, visible to the crowd. And, I heard just in my area with the people that was standing around, I heard a lot of people saying, "You killed Star Wars," or, you brought your twin sister, so she's your bodyguard because of all the fans, all sorts of stuff like that. And yeah, the most of the people were, or maybe not most of them, but there was a lot of people saying negative things about Kathleen Kennedy. Uh, she's the president of Lucasfilm or whatever, and supposed to be George Lucas's like right hand man or whatever, or woman. But a lot of people don't feel that she captured the entire spirit of Star Wars for George and didn't do enough for him to get his vision out, and went too far away from his vision. But okay, so as far as the movie itself, as far as the action goes, as far as the action scenes and stuff like that, I would say that it was on par with The Last Jedi, possibly more action than The Last Jedi. Actually, I would say probably more action than Last Jedi. I did the only thing that I really thought was like kind of weird, or the jet troopers, the stormtroopers with the jetpacks on their back, the action figures, as they're everywhere. Everybody's seen them. The Guardian, or what they call it, Galaxy Adventure figures. They kind of look like the flame trooper, but without the flame thrower. They look a little bit like that guy, but they have a jetpack on. I was actually surprisingly, I thought they were cool. I kind of thought they were cool. It's flying stormtroopers. Of course, then their backpack isn't as elaborate as, say, like Boba Fett's, where that's probably where, if you think of a jetpack, that would be more of a classic version of what you would think of, at least Star Wars wise, for a jetpack. And Boba Fett did fly, but he didn't fly a whole lot. And, he flew a little bit in Return of the Jedi. But the tread speeder, the speeder that they're riding on, chasing the speeder that doesn't even have wheels or anything, that just floats. When you think of it as something with the treads are what tanks use to move around, to go over things. They could literally, crawl, or what do you call it? Not crawl, but like go over a car or they could crush things underneath of them, literally. But have you ever heard of a tank that can fly as fast as like a speeder bike in Return of the Jedi? You don't think of that kind of thing when you're thinking tanks or treads. And this new vehicle that's a tread speeder, which is the Galaxy of Adventures. It's the only vehicle they make. You see it at Target everywhere. I thought it was ridiculous. It was kind of stupid. Wherever they came up with that, or however they came up with that particular design, it just doesn't make sense. They're not going to catch like a land speeder, even though it doesn't, have wheels. Land speeder, like in Star Wars. How are you going to catch something like that with something that has treads? And they seem to have designed this specifically to get the jet troopers to fly, which literally the pilot of the tread speeders, like a regular stormtrooper, and the guy behind him has a jetpack and a different uniform. And it's designed to actually catapult the stormtrooper into the air to give him a boost so he can use his jetpack. And that's been in all the trailers, or quite a few, TV spots. It's been on the toys have been out since October, so everybody shouldn't have any problem with that. But that just didn't make any sense to me. But I do like how I do kind of, for some reason, I like flying stormtroopers. I thought that was kind of cool. But Um, and as far as like, well, I don't know what else to say without really giving a whole lot. I mean, without giving anything away. But um, I'm not going to confirm whether the leaks are true or anything like that. I'm not going to say anything about that at all. If you want to know what those um, leaks are, you could pretty much Google it and find it. Look for anything to do with the Swedish ratings board for movies. That's what all the leaks are about. And yeah, well, try to think. That's something I was going to say, but I can't really say that either. But as far as character design, costume design, a lot of the costumes, are very similar to what they were before, which is one reason why a lot of people don't really care too much about the characters sometimes, or the figures or the toys, because they look so similar to the last one. Do you really need another one when they look that close to the previous version? I don't know. The story arc, I would say it progresses, but it seems to be at a quicker pace, and it goes back and forth a lot. And one positive thing I could say about it was one of the things that made the Star Wars saga, especially the first Star Wars, so good was the trio of heroes. Leia, Han, and Luke were in a lot of scenes together. And this one does deliver on that one as far as that goes. You do see Rey and Poe and Finn in the same scene and the same place at the same time, and Chewbacca and what's his name, C-3PO. But so they at least did that right, I guess. I wouldn't know. It's up to you whether you think they actually have the chemistry, but at least they did get them together. Unfortunately, they did not do that with the Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, where they had the chance to get Carrie Fisher while she was, still with us, to be in the same scenes with Luke and Han. Well, they did get Carrie and Luke together in The Last Jedi, but you never saw all three of them together in Force Awakens or Last Jedi, which was a real shame, which is what everybody wanted to see. And part of the reason why it made $2 billion worldwide is because from the moment that Disney bought Lucasfilm, the very first time they had a table read for the movie, J.J. Abrams posted that picture showing that Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, and Harrison Ford, they're all in the same room at the same time in the same place reading the script together, and it got fans excited. They were promised, if you look at the billing of the movie, The Force Awakens, they're all at the top of the list, and that means their names are at top, at the poster: Harrison Ford, Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, and they just never got that together where they're all three alive in the same action scene or anything all together. And that really has a lot of the reason why the fans of Star Wars, the previous films, didn't approve of The Last Jedi, and they felt let down. Basically, that's what it comes down to. All right, guys. So I really can't. I mean, I got this all in my head right now, trying to think of everything. And, I've only seen it once, but I'll do another review with, more details later on after the movie opens, worldwide, where I feel more safe to say what I want to say. And yeah, because getting to be at the world premiere is kind of a perk of living in California. It's to get a ticket or to get invited or anything, or however you see it, is just it's an extra perk to being around for the movie. And yeah, so check out the First Jedi podcast. We'll be coming back soon. It's actually moved. I moved it to the Collecting and Hobbies podcast, which is buzzsprout.com/158806. And yeah, so I should have some guests on there, possibly. And we'll be reviewing it in detail. We'll also do a spoiler-free review. We'll do them both, just like we did with The Last Jedi and Solo. And I hope you guys listen to it. Thank you guys for clicking on this YouTube video. And I hope you guys enjoy the movie, or at least give it a chance to go see it if you to see exactly how it came out. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like the way that they call it the ending of the saga, because we already know that there's going to be more Star Wars stuff. And if you haven't checked out The Mandalorian on Disney Plus, check that out, because that one's pretty good. Everybody's going crazy over Baby Yoda, even though it's not actually Yoda as a baby. It's just he looks like Yoda and he's a baby, but nobody knows what Yoda is. I don't know what his alien species is called or whatever, but so they just call him Baby Yoda. Anyway, so check out The Mandalorian on Disney Plus if you haven't already. I'm looking forward to seeing the new Clone Wars that's coming out. Dave Filoni was there promoting it, saying that he'd be done with it in a couple of days. It should be on Disney Plus later on this year. I don't see why they went with Cassian Andor to make another series for Rogue One, but I mean, his figure sold horribly. If you go by his action figure, Black Series figure, he's like peg warmer of the century, man. He was, but he just, quite frankly, I don't really care for his character that much, but I'll give it a chance, because in general, I just like Star Wars. It's something I grew up with, and it's always been my favorite franchise, favorite film. And I just wish it would have turned out a little bit differently, the sequel trilogy as a whole, whether it was Force Awakens, Last Jedi, etc. But I think they missed a lot of opportunities, a lot. And overall, I think it was not the way that the fans would want it to go. But as a standalone movie, it's got a lot of action, a lot of effects, but go see it, see what you think for yourself, and I'll see you guys on the next one.